In the history of the Society of Jesus, doing fasting and vigils and mortifications was not prescribed to any detail by St. Ignatius. He left that up to the person and the person's superior and perhaps spiritual director to determine, always saying that the rule of charity should be part of this. But he very much thought that Jesuits would continue the practice somehow of, of bringing something that unpleasant into their life in order to free themselves from too great a love for the things of this world. He just really felt that was, and how different that is from our own society now, which lionizes personal pleasure and entertainment and interest, keeping ourselves interested in things, and finds boredom and pain something that immediately has to be rejected and found some solution for. For Ignatius there, that wasn't the case. And for the early Jesuits and for the long history of Christian tradition, there was a sense in which they knew that life would bring suffering. It inevitably did. And so just accepting that suffering itself with an easy heart and a welcome spirit, was in a real way to mortify, to not cry out to God and say, why this or why that, to accept that. Was something that was very important. But as a recent Father General in the middle of the early 50s, pointed out that mortification goes beyond that. What it does do is it becomes a school of the Spirit, so that as you accept some voluntary sufferings, you begin to recognize that when the involuntary one, when you have failure or when your work, is taking a lot out of you, when perhaps you do have a disease or a pain, or you're living with somebody who's a pain, that you begin to say to yourself, well, this is what God, this is what God wants for me. And because one has accepted voluntary sufferings and burdens and pain and hunger and things like that, one then recognizes that there's something good that can come from this resignation. And when one's ready, one's become to some degree a warrior of the Spirit through the mortifications one has taken on, so that when one faces the moments that are critical to accept the will of God or to find good things in the bad things that happen in life, one's ready to do that. And that was one of the reasons, that has been recommended, and the early Jesuits and the recent Father General recommended, we're talking about the mid-50s recently, recommended that we think about mortifications and to bring them far more into our lives perhaps than we would want to do. And that's the wisdom of the Jesuits for today.